War Sovereign Soaring the Heavens, Chapter 793. How is it? Are you afraid? It's too late. The blue-clothed young man had a complacent expression from borrowing the might of others when he saw the change in Zhang Xiaoyang's expression. Even if I'm afraid, it isn't of you. Zhang Xiaoyang glanced at the blue-clothed young man with disdain, and then he raised the wine gourd from his waist, had poured wine down his mouth as he gulped down large mouthfuls of wine. When he saw Zhang Xiaoyang still had the mood to drink wine when being surrounded by them, the blue-clothed young man couldn't help but laugh coldly. Drink, drink. You're bound to drink for the last time in your lifetime. You're too noisy. Zhang Xiaoyang, who was drinking wine, suddenly shouted out explosively. Right when the three young men that surrounded him couldn't help but be shocked for a moment, he struck out swiftly. At the instant Zhang Xiaoyang shouted out explosively, he raised up the wine gourd that he'd accumulated strength in since long ago before fiercely smashing it down. Origin energy coiled around the wine gourd's surroundings, and it quickly fused with his earth concept to materialize and envelop the wine gourd. Swoosh! The wine gourd that had a layer of clothes put on it tore through the sky and gave rise to a wave of explosions that resounded out like thunderclaps as it flashed directly towards the blue-clothed young man. In the sky, 64 ancient horned dragon silhouettes dashed out behind him. Watch out! The thin young man and the other robust young man's expressions went grim as they transformed into two bolts of lightning that flashed directly towards the blue-clothed young man with the intention of rescuing him. But unfortunately, their reactions were still too slow. Zhang Xiaoyang's strength wasn't inferior to the two of them, and he attacked at the same short period of time that both of them were stunned, allowing him to gain the initiative. Bang! The wine gourd smashed onto the head of the blue-clothed young man that revealed a terrified expression, and it blasted his head apart. The blue-clothed young man that was being complacent a moment ago had become a headless corpse in the blink of an eye. Bang! 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 At the same time, Zhang Xiaoyang moved. Every time his legs flashed, they would step onto an enormous brick that appeared out of thin air, allowing him to gain momentum and flash out before grabbing the wine gourd that he'd smashed out in his hand. At the same time, the headless corpse plunged down to the ground and vanished within the illusory purgatory. When the headless corpse appeared outside, it caused all the experts of the older generation outside to be unable to help but feel terror in their hearts. Who exactly did this? His methods are actually so brutal. Many people gasped. I wonder from which dynasty this unfortunate fellow is from. The representatives of many dynasties frowned as they were worried this blue-clothed young man was from their dynasty. Because blue clothes were truly too ordinary, practically every dynasty had a young genius that wore clothes with this color. On the other hand, in the illusory purgatory, Zhang Xiaoyang, who'd killed their companion under their noses, caused both of the other young experts to be infuriated. I never imagined that you've already comprehended second-level void interpretation concept. The thin young man stared at Zhang Xiaoyang with a gloomy expression as the origin energy on his body raged, and then it transformed into red-colored flames that enveloped his entire body within it. Whoosh! In the sky above the thin young man, first 20 ancient horned dragon silhouettes appeared before another 30 ancient horned dragon silhouettes appeared. First level void interpretation stage. Second level intermediate fire concept. Besides that, it isn't only you who possesses a grade 3 spirit weapon. The eyes of the thin young man narrowed as a 7-foot-long spear appeared out of thin air in his hand, and at the instant the spear appeared, it was coiled around by the flames and started to tremble slightly. Whoosh! Subsequently, another 13 ancient horned dragon silhouettes and another 4,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared in the sky. Obviously, The 7-foot-long spear in the thin young man's hands was a grade 3 spirit weapon as well, but its amplification strength was far inferior to the wine gourd in Zhang Xiaoyang's hands. After all, the grade 3 spirit weapon wine gourd in Zhang Xiaoyang's hands was personally refined by Duan Lingtian, and it was capable of providing an amplification of an entire 70%, causing it to be far from something the grade 3 spirit spear in the hands of the thin young man could compare to. Remember, on the road to hell, that was the Darku dynasty's Kongfang that killed you. The grade 3 spirit spear in Kongfang's hands shook and seemed like an agile python that was swinging its tail with just the two of you. Disdain suffused the corners of Zhang Xiaoyang's mouth. Kongfang's strength was not bad indeed, yet the difference in spirit weapon caused Kongfang's strength to be an entire 6,000 ancient mammoths inferior to him. Even though the strength of 6,000 ancient mammoths wasn't much, yet it was a chasm that was difficult to surmount. Most importantly, Kongfang's other companions seemed to only be a first-level void interpretation stage martial artist that had comprehended first-level void interpretation concept according to the blue-clothed young man that was killed earlier. A first-level void interpretation stage martial artist like this was inferior to him by the strength of an entire 10 ancient horned dragons or more and posed no threat to him. What? You're looking down on me? The other robust young man sneered as the origin energy on his body raged before transforming into numerous material violet-colored bolt of lightning that coiled around his body, causing him to seem as if he was the god of lightning that had descended into the mortal world. Whoosh! In the sky, the phenomenon of the heavens and the earth appeared abruptly. First 30 ancient horned dragon silhouettes appeared before another 20 ancient horned dragon silhouettes appeared. Second level void interpretation stage. First level intermediate concept. Second level void interpretation stage. Zhang Xiaoyang's face went grim when he saw the strength revealed by the robust young man. To him, this second-level void interpretation stage martial artist that had comprehended first-level void interpretation concept was far more dangerous than the first-level void interpretation stage martial artist that had comprehended second-level void interpretation stage concept. Because the strength contained in origin energy could be amplified via spirit weapons. Even though I don't have a grade 3 spirit weapon. But I think that even if it's only a grade 4 spirit weapon, it's sufficient to make my strength surpass you in all respects. The cold smile on the robust young man's face grew wider as a thick and broad saber appeared in his hands. Along with the material violet-colored bolts of lightning fusing into the saber, another 17 ancient horned dragon silhouettes and a few thousand ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared in the sky. When the robust young man exerted his full strength, it had already surpassed the strength of 67 ancient horned dragons, whereas, Zhang Xiaoyang's strength was only comparable to the strength of 64 ancient horned dragons. Xiao Feng, you suppress him. I'll take his life. Kongfang seemed to be not surprised in the slightest by the strength revealed by the robust young man, and he obviously knew very well about the robust young man's strength in his heart. Perhaps, it was precisely because of this that he would speak those words to Zhang Xiaoyang earlier. Remember, on the road to hell, that was the Darku dynasty's Kongfang that killed you. Xiaofeng and Kongfang moved from the front and back to seal Zhang Xiaoyang's paths of retreat. Zhang Xiaoyang's gaze flickered, and his face darkened completely. If Kongfang was joining forces with a martial artist that was only at the first level of the void interpretation stage and had comprehended first level void interpretation concept, he wouldn't be worried in the slightest. Yet now, he felt he didn't have the slightest confidence of winning. Since he didn't have the confidence to win, he didn't have the intention of going head-on with them. Flee. Without the slightest hesitation, Zhang Xiaoyang stomped down and instantly stepped onto the enormous brick formed out of thin air by his origin energy and earth concept before utilizing this force to fly out. Swoosh. Zhang Xiaoyang's entire body seemed to have transformed into a cannonball that flashed directly towards the distance, and he wanted to flee far away from here. Chase him. But unfortunately, Kong Fang and Xiao Feng were prepared long ago, and at the instant Zhang Xiaoyang stomped on the brick, they'd moved out to stop Zhang Xiaoyang a step before him. Kill. When he saw this, Zhang Xiaoyang realized that he had to slaughter his way out, otherwise, it would be impossible for him to flee. Bang! In the first possible moment, Zhang Xiaoyang chose Kong Fang, who possessed a comparatively weaker strength, and he raised his wine gourd before smashing it down right away, causing terrifying and heaven-shaking explosions of the air to resound out. Xiao Feng. Kong Fang didn't dodge when he saw this, and the grade 3 spirit spear in his hand shook yet didn't move to stop Zhang Xiaoyang's wine gourd, but instead started to ceaselessly accumulate strength. OM. At the critical moment, the thick and broad saber in Xiao Feng's hands that was coiled with violet-colored bolts of lightning fiercely descended onto the wine gourd in Zhang Xiaoyang's hands, and it blasted it away from its trajectory that would flash towards Kong Fang. Now, Kong Fang's eyes lit up and seized the opportunity that Zhang Xiaoyang temporarily didn't have a spirit weapon in his hands to rely on, and the grade 3 spirit spear in Kong Fang's hands that had been accumulating force since long ago swept out abruptly. Swoosh! The fiery red-colored 7-foot-long spear swept out like a flaming dragon that left its cave, and it pierced towards Zhang Xiaoyang with a speed so swift that it far surpassed the speed of Zhang Xiaoyang's movement technique. Zhang Xiaoyang had just moved when the 7-foot-long spear had already carried along a dense aura of death to arrive nearby, and it intended to pierce through his body. Am I going to die? At the critical moment, Zhang Xiaoyang's heart shook, and the figure of his wife, Wan Qian, appeared in his mind at the first possible moment. Qian, if I'm reborn in the world, I... Zhang Xiaoyang's thoughts hadn't finished speaking when a brief sword howl instantly pierced into his eardrums, and it caused his mind to shake and the beautiful figure in his mind vanished, whereas, the grade 3 spirit spear that was about to penetrate to him was blasted to the side and pierced nothing but air. Who? Along with Kong Fang and Xiao Feng's grim shouts entering into his ears, Zhang Xiaoyang saw a familiar face appear before him, and it caused his eyes to light up. Brother Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian. When he heard Zhang Xiaoyang and saw the familiar violet-colored figure, Kong Fang's face went grim. If it was the young genius of another dynasty, perhaps the young genius wouldn't know Duan Ling Tian's strength, but Kong Fang had seen Duan Ling Tian make a move in the restaurant outside Skywolf Fort that day. At that time, Duan Ling Tian slapped his companion with a speed so swift that even caused him to feel ashamed for his inferiority. At that time, he understood that Duan Ling Tian was at least in existence at the second level of the void interpretation stage. Duan Ling Tian. Xiao Feng's pupils couldn't help but constrict. Never had he imagined that the young genius from the Darkhan dynasty that had been in the limelight 2 days ago would actually possess such a terrifying cultivation. He seems to be only 28, right? A casual strike of his sword blasted away the grade 3 spirit spear in Kong Fang's hand. In terms of strength, I'm afraid he isn't inferior to me. Such natural talent can be said to be heaven-defying. Big Brother Zhang, aren't you too ferocious? Going against the joint forces of a first-level void interpretation stage martial artist and a second-level void interpretation stage martial artist with a cultivation at the first level of the void interpretation stage, only you can do such a thing. Duan Ling Tian completely disregarded Kong Fang and Xiao Feng as he smiled to Zhang Xiaoyang. Zhang Xiaoyang felt a wave of speechlessness when he heard this. Do you think I wanted to? If he knew since long ago that there was a second-level void interpretation stage martial artist amongst his enemies, he would have fled at the instant he killed that blue-clothed young man. If he fled at that time, Zhang Xiaoyang had the confidence to not allow Kongfang and Xiaofeng to chase up to him. I hope you enjoy the video. Don't forget like, share, subscribe to channels.